All right, guys. So shooting the video a little later at night so I can show off my lighting in here. A lot of this week was just getting some lighting in. I talked about some options I was thinking about last week. I'll show you guys what I did. A few new additions, but mostly just kind of running some wires. So let's jump on in and I'll show you guys what I got going on here. All right, so this is wide angle. So what I did is I ran some LED strip lighting underneath the countertops of both the cabinets here. And first time I've personally used them, and pretty happy. As you guys probably noticed here, I got a bunch of switches and stuff, or a bunch of various things. I'll talk about that. But these lights function on this switch right here, and they are on a dimmer, so I can actually make them quite bright or dim them down quite a bit, which is kind of where I like to keep it. And then up here, I added one of these little, I guess you call it like a map reading light. I didn't want to, like I've talked about many times, I didn't want to modify the van too much, but I was able to pretty discreetly put 2 screws in. This thing had like a little mounting disc. And so I was able to pretty discreetly put in 2 screws, mount this on there so it's real sturdy. You see a little bit of the wire there, but the rest of the wire I was able to feed and conceal, all the way down in there, and I'll open up that side door in a minute and show you. But this map light, doesn't give off a ton of light, but it's kind of nice just for directional stuff, particularly like over the sink and when the table is up right here. So I like it. And I'll show you guys the lights in the rear. I think I showed you guys where, actually I can just turn it on right from here. So I believe I showed you, if I recall, that I had mounted the 2 lights up there. And now I've got those wired in, and I put the dimmer switch, or the little on and off, and the dimmer switch right in there. I thought that was a nice fit. And of course these also dim. And then kind of my final lighting solution. So LED strip lights, the lights in the rear, and this map light all pull electricity off of the main house battery that will be in the rear, which is obviously separate from the car battery. Now, I'm okay. It's not super bright in here, but I'm actually okay with that because, stealth is kind of the name of the game with this, and I think I'll have enough light. But I was able to kind of mess around with the settings in the van and get it to where these lights just work on a switch. The body of the light itself kind of has a built-in switch. You just press it there. And I'll be honest with you, these are the stock lights in the van, and these just tie off of the battery for the car, for the van itself. Normally that's not ideal, but I don't really think these are sucking very much energy. I'd be really surprised if I start running my battery down. But I think, depending on how much light I want in here and what I'm doing, I think I might just use these, turn them on. They do go off automatically as like a safety mechanism. I think it's after about 30 minutes. So a little bit of a hassle to turn them on and off, but I don't think it's too big of a deal, especially since I have some other lighting here. So between those 4 options, I think I'm going to see if that works for the lighting in this camper. Obviously, I'll take it out on a couple tests out in the field here shortly when I wrap it up. And, I'll make my final determination. But, lighting is so important in a little camper that I found. And, that's one of those things that's worth spending a little extra time. So, but I like what I have here. So, like I said, mostly wiring. Let me mention this little thing here. YouTube, one of the viewers, he very graciously sent an email out, and we've been talking quite a bit. And he was giving me some information about getting rid of these trolleys, okay? So, these are the trolleys that the original seats would have sat on. And in this particular model here, you just can't you know, you can remove the seats, but you just can't remove the trolleys from these tracks. YouTube viewer, which again I'm very grateful for, had reached out and we've been talking, and he found a way to remove the 2 passenger side ones, but the middle one would still remain in place. The other trolley is actually underneath this cabinet, but it's serving a role to attach that, so that one's fine. So I was gonna take his guidance, which I was, you know, very grateful he gave me to remove those 2, but I would still have that one, and that kind of bothered me. So this took me like 15 minutes to build, but one night I just took some of the scrap I have and made this little box that, as you guys saw, just fits over the top. And I actually like it. I mean, first and foremost, where it's positioned, the bed just comes up to it, so it has no impact on the bed. Some of you may know that to access a spare tire underneath there, there's a little section where you have to put a bar and twist the spare tire down. But this is totally removable. It's not attached in any fixed way. It's basically just kind of a friction attachment. I made it pretty tight, so it sits tight around the trolleys. So you could remove it very easily if you wanted to get the spare tire out for whatever reason. But it's it kind of just aesthetically breaks it up in here. If you're sitting on the couch, it's a great place just to kind of rest your feet like this. And finally, so I was wheeling here. Let me show you guys what I got here in the garage. I was wheeling and dealing on the Facebook Marketplace and picked up one of these EcoFlow Wave 2 air conditioner things here. And now this is the Wave 2. My understanding is there's a later generation one. The guy I traded it for, he said he used it a handful of times, and this thing does pretty much brand new. Does have the additional battery to it, which is nice. He was missing a couple of the little shroud pieces, or at least one of them, so he's looking for those. If worst case scenario, I can buy it off the secondary market if I need to. But this is just these are kind of new on the market, and I'm not super familiar with them, but for those who don't know, this is essentially an air conditioner unit. You can power it a couple different ways. Like I said, this has a battery. I think I've heard mixed reviews on how long it runs, but it'll run at least a couple hours. And this also has a heater function. Of course, it's going to work on the heat pump principle, so it's going to have some limitations with it. I think about 40 is from what I recall, the range that you can use these in. I don't have a good personal sense yet of how well it works. You do turn it on, and the air coming out of there is about 65 to 60. It was a little over 100 when I was running it, so that seems not too bad. I don't know if it's going to be enough at the end of the day to cool down the van, but it's probably better than nothing, and it's something to kind of play around with. If any of you guys have any experience with this particular one, let me know. But as soon as I get that other shroud piece, because what you essentially have to do is you can either sit it outside and put a shroud over the front of this and pump the cool air inside, or have it inside and you have this and then the intake that you would arrange at some portion outside the vehicle and just leave the main section here inside the car to cool it. So, but my long-winded point is that little tray just happened to be the perfect size for this thing. So if this does work out as a viable cooling solution for the van, this EcoFlow here can actually just rest right on top of that little tray, so that will work out nice. Yeah, I mean, we're getting pretty close. Like I said, I'm taking my time in this one. I'm not rushing through it. That's right. Let me show you guys. Sorry about that. I meant to show you some more stuff and got distracted here. Let me show you guys what else I added in here. So, as you guys can see here, I added this piece here, and this has some of the high watt USB. You can't really see it; it's not well lit, but it has a couple of the 65 watt USB-Cs, standard USB, and then it's got 2 AC outlets. And this actually plugs into the inverter, so I I'm still tidying up some of the wires, but I had to run, you know, a bunch of wires down back underneath these cabinets. I'll tidy them all up when I'm done. But so this right down here is a remote turn on for the inverter that I have. So you would have to turn this on, and then this would be activated, and you'd have USB and AC plugs. Got the switch for the light we talked about, and then down here I just put in one cigarette lighter. And my main primary intent of use for this is for my heated blanket, but you know any other DC device. And then it's not hooked up right now, but over here I mounted the battery monitor. So you know, it's amazing how long it takes to add in all these little electrical devices. So that's what I spend a lot of my week on. But let me show you, like we said, we got the fridge there, and let me show you the DC plugins for back there. All right, so like I said, the fridge is gonna sit here, and I found this little dual cigarette lighter thing on Amazon. It also has you can't really see them, but there's a few USB plugs down here. But the idea of this is I can plug, you know, the fridge right here, you know, directly into this nice and tidy when I want to run the fridge. And I would just ran the wires down this wall and then underneath this plastic, and it was all concealed back in there. That little extension of wire is what's from that little lamp there. But yeah, you know, it's like I said, it's kind of funny. You know, all this wiring and stuff, you know, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of progress done this week, but stuff actually takes time. So one the big reasons I put these lights here is, you know, if it's at night, you know, they serve to put down pretty good light here if you're using this as the outdoor cooking station, or if you're opening it up to retrieve items down in there. Right now I'm just using a small little power bank just to power the van as we sit. You can see all the wires are all fed through. Not very tidy right now. I'm going to tidy them up. I just one little trick I learned here is I would typically tidy up wires, you know, right away. But inevitably, whenever you're doing your electrical, until you're completely done, it would never fail. I would get all the wires tidied up, and then I would want to add a circuit, and I'd have to cut everything off and, you know, put another wire through. So what I do now is I just leave them untidy. I just kind of direct them where I want them to go, make sure I have enough slack, all that kind of stuff. And probably here in the next few days, when I feel confident that I got all my circuits in, then I'll go through and tidy those up. And then I just put in the fuse box right there, so it's nice and accessible. And but you know, getting close. Just the last couple things I need to do is I think it'd be a pretty neat idea. I talked about it in a live a little while ago, but I have an idea for a kind of a rooftop vent in here that will maintain stealth. I won't need to cut into the van or anything. I got a few little cosmetic trim pieces and things like that I need to add. And I've got to mount the solar panel on the roof, and down there to that left I need to get the diesel heater mounted. Not too big of a rush, you know, being just at the midsummer here to get the diesel heater in, but I'll get it in. And then hopefully it'll cool down enough I can take this bad boy on its maiden trip, or maybe at least that little AC will work good enough to where I'll feel comfortable being out there. But yeah, it's coming along. I think all that lighting is going to do the trick. And yeah, I'm enjoying this more and more. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching.